Jesse Jackson has passed away. Jesse was born on October 8th, 1941, in Greenville, South Carolina, and he died on February 17th, 2026, in Chicago, Illinois. Now, this is not going to be the normal, flower bringing and slow singing remembrance of Jesse Jackson that you come to expect from, our community when we talk about people who are associated with the civil rights movement. But I think that we should have a eulogy of our own that's grounded in honesty and truth. If you agree with that, give me a one in the comments. For too long, the Black community has been expected to praise and revere certain sacred cows that existed among us. We don't really know these people. As a matter of fact, most of these people, if they saw us passing in the street, wouldn't even take a second to talk to us. These are people who were pronounced or prescribed as giants, upon whom shoulders we stood, and upon whose backs everything that we've ever accomplished was built. But we didn't see anything that they did. Only our parents and our grandparents, living in a time where they had access to little, if any, truthful or factual information, simply told us that this is the way it is and this is the way it's going to be because this is the way it's always been. We hear stories of Jesse Jackson marching during civil rights. We hear stories of Jesse Jackson being one of the few who had unwavering loyalty to Dr. King. But in our modern day, as we gain more access to information and we learn that there were more people involved in civil rights than just Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the like, we begin to gain new perspective on who these men really were. And in our time, these men have proved at times to be utter embarrassments and disappointments. There's a man who also marched with Martin Luther King. There's a man who also marched with Reverend Jesse Jackson. His name is Hosea Williams. He has interviews all over the internet. And in my opinion, he gives the most accurate, true, honest, transparent perspective and understanding of the civil rights movement that I have ever heard. This Hosea Williams describes a different Jesse Jackson than the one that we've been taught to revere. This Hosea Williams describes a Jesse Jackson who, after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, drenched himself in King's blood and ran down to the lobby of the hotel just to be in front of the news cameras and let people know that he was a part of this thing called the civil rights movement, and he was deeply connected with Dr. King. Some people would say that Jesse Jackson was a grifter. Some people would say that Jesse Jackson was very dishonest in his dealings with the Black community and even his dealings with Dr. King. Some would say that Jesse Jackson was a state-sanctioned handler of Dr. Martin Luther King, who simply sought to profiteer and benefit from King's untimely demise. Now, none of us were alive at that time. None of us had a front row seat or even a back row seat to what was said in confidence among these men. We weren't there. So, as does any jury or any group of people expected to give a witness, all we can do is go by what we see now. And when I think about the Jesse Jackson that I saw for 40 years of my life leading up into his death, there's one scripture that comes to mind. There's a scripture in the 17th chapter of Proverbs, verse 13. It says that anyone who returns evil for good, evil will never leave his house. For anyone who returns evil for good, evil will never leave his house. And if you're a person who's politically astute or understand anything of what we've been dealing with in our political situation recently, the only Jesse Jackson that I know is a man who did nothing but return evil for good. That's all I know. The only Jesse Jackson I know is a man who ran for president twice. He wasn't respected. He wasn't taken seriously. And be it not for one man who so generously donated to Jesse Jackson's campaigns, donated real estate on Wall Street, and always supported Jesse Jackson in every last one of his endeavors. If it wasn't for this one man, Jesse Jackson would be all but unheard of in 2026. Obviously, you know that I'm talking about Donald J. Trump, a person who has always respected Jesse Jackson. He's always spoke highly of Jesse Jackson. And Jesse Jackson actually used to speak very highly of him. But what changed? Because in our more recent times, we've seen Jesse Jackson only repay the good that Donald Trump bestowed upon him with evil. We've listened to a man who received millions of dollars from Donald Trump. It later in life turn on Donald Trump and call him a racist and a bigot and every other name under the sun. And one has to ask, why? All so Jesse could be in league with a bunch of people who ultimately had no respect for him when he attempted to run for president of the United States? All to be in cahoots with a group of people, the Democrats who down south were the facilitators of the violence that was executed upon the civil rights movement protesters and leaders? See, Jesse said he wanted to be a Democrat. But the thing about Jesse, may God rest his soul, is Jesse was alive to know that Lyndon B. Johnson said, I'll have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 60 years. Jesse was alive to understand who were the creators and progenitors of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, that was lynching people from deep down in Mississippi all the way up to North Carolina and beyond. Jesse Jackson was one of the few black people who was living up until recently who understood exactly what the Democrat Party represented on its face, and yet he still wanted nothing more than to collude and be a part of that party. I'm telling you today, right now, don't ever, ever raise your kids to be like Jesse Jackson. I'll say it because nobody else has the balls to. He died in shame. He had a legacy that was somewhat salvageable. And just later in life, he squandered it on nothing. Ultimately, whatever pearls he did have, he cast them to swine just so he could be a part of the good old boys club. All that marching and stomping and singing went to waste later in Jesse's life, because whatever he claimed to have built it on was dashed among the rocks. Jesse Jackson as a man, I understand that your mom and your granny, they didn't raise you. You got to worship these dudes, and they didn't raise you to be a borderline homosexual with your lust and your admiration of shady characters. But as a man, how do you really even respect someone like Jesse Jackson? That's my question. How do you respect someone who had great blessings and kindness bestowed upon them from a certain person, only to, at the end of the day, turn on that person viciously as if the person had never done anything for him. If someone had did that to you, I don't necessarily think you would be singing hymns at their funeral. I don't necessarily think that that would be someone who you looked at as a person that you would respect. And I know for a fact that wouldn't be someone that you would tell your children and your grandchildren to admire and look up to. So why are we being told to look up to this person? Why is Jesse Jackson, the snake that he is, good enough for us to look up to and revere and try to imitate or emulate when no other group of people on earth would bestow respect upon a person who operated the way he did? Now, a lot of people are going to give me smoke. A lot of people aren't going to like what I have to say about Jesse Jackson. But at the end of the day, I have to speak in honesty based on the way this hits me, on the way this hits my heart. You can do whatever the hell you want to do, and I won't stop you from doing it. But me, please give me the room to do what I want to do and just listen to what I have to say and don't hate on me. There's a scripture in the Bible at 1 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, verse 15. It says, I said this about Jesse Jackson yesterday to one of my friends, and was a family member. They're like, "Oh, don't judge. Only God can judge," and whoopty whoopty bam and all this mess. And I had to remind them of this scripture. This scripture says that a spiritual person possesses the divine capacity to discern, evaluate, and examine all things, judging them in righteousness. If you have an ounce of spirituality in you, you should be able to see something on its face as being wrong and make a judgment, discern, evaluate, and examine, and determine that thing to be right or wrong. And my question to all of you is this: is it wrong to repay good with evil? Is it wrong to repay good with evil? That is the question that needs to be asked when one is assessing the legacy of Jesse Jackson and many other Black folks. Because I believe Jesse Jackson was the personification of a certain air of hypocrisy that exists within our community, where someone could treat us right for so long, and as soon as we're given the opportunity, as soon as it is incentivized, we will turn on that person like a vicious pack of dogs. Am I wrong? Look at Donald Trump. Black people loved him. He was the man. Everybody wanted to be Trump paid. We used to crawl on top of each other to be in a photograph with this person. Go back to the 90s. Every celebrity you knew wanted nothing more than to be in a picture with Donald Trump. Boxers such as Mike Tyson were given a license to fight at Trump casinos when he couldn't get a license to fight anywhere else to make money to feed his family. People like Michael Jackson, who were falsely accused of things like pedophilia and child molestation. When the world turned on them, the only person who was there defending them was Donald J. Trump. And I'm not just saying Trump like he's some type of folk hero or someone you should worship. What I'm saying is you see the same type of dynamic play out in Black communities everywhere. You see it happen in your family. Family members who you've been nothing but good to. Every time they called you and needed $40, you always sent it. Only to, in the end, have these no good dogs turn on you the minute they are incentivized to do so. And Jesse Jackson, I get that same ick when I think about him that I get when I think about my own family members who have done that to me. That's all I'm saying. The age of information, the age we're currently living in, is revealing truth. The light continues to get brighter and brighter as we gain an unprecedented level of access to new information. And one thing you're going to have to be able to do to survive in this time is you're going to have to be able to unlearn and relearn. And based on what you learn, you're going to have to act on it now. We're not in the age where you could just know it and not do anything about it. Even blue-haired freaks and overweight white women are now getting in the street screaming and attacking ICE agents over what they think they know. They don't even know it for sure. They just think they know. They're just vaguely familiar with it, and they're taken to the streets. So what will ye who purport yourselves to have this superior level of knowledge and understanding do? Are you going to sit behind the computer screen and just talk about it? Are you going to put into practice the things that you say you know that everyone else should learn and ultimately adopt? I promise you, Jesse Jackson did not do that. A lot of us don't really know a lot about Jesse Jackson's life. We know that he was born on October 8th, 1941. We know that he died on February 17, 2026. We know that he was an American civil rights activist, a politician, and an ordained Baptist minister. Go figure that. That means Jesse was reading out of the same Bible that I just read from to you. Why is it that I, who, I'm nobody, I'm no one special, why is it that I can understand the deeper meaning and acquire a greater understanding of these ideas and these truths than Jesse himself? Why is it that I understand that Proverbs tells us not to repay good with evil? But Jesse Jackson just couldn't seem to get that part. And when people can't understand the basic facts, the basic realities, the basic tenets of honor, it really makes me question every single thing they've ever done. I got people in the comments, my boy, talking about this is the Odd Pack. No, I just don't respect liars and grifters and con artists. I don't respect people who treat people who've done good to them badly, all in the name of personal gain. Especially when at the end of the day, they ultimately gain nothing. I'm kind of lost on it. Like, what was the point? What was the point? Jesse Jackson was a protege of Martin Luther King Jr. and James Bevel during the Civil Rights Movement. He became one of the most prominent civil rights leaders of the late 20th century. From 1991 to 1997, he served as a shadow delegate and a shadow senator for the District of Columbia. What the hell is a shadow delegate? Shadow delegates and shadow senators, those posts are held by elected or appointed government officials from subnational polities of the United States that lack congressional vote. While these officials are not seated in either chamber of Congress, they seek recognition for their subnational polity up to full statehood. This would enfranchise them with full voting rights on the floor of the U.S. House and Senate alongside existing states. As of 2021, only the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico currently have. Oh, okay. I see. I didn't even know. I never even knew about this. Okay, so basically, you represent areas. You basically represent people who don't really get a vote. So if you look at Puerto Rico, you look at the District of Columbia, those people really don't get to vote. So what they appoint for them are shadow delegates. So basically, I guess they would communicate. I guess they would communicate the sentiments of people in those areas to actual representatives, and then those representatives will kind of have an idea of what, of like what those people in those areas would want to do, I guess. I really don't have to, I really can't explain that to you. I have to actually research it myself more, but that's what it looks like. Basically, they even have shadow delegates for like Indian nations like reservations and stuff. People who represent people who don't have a vote, basically. So, that's what Jesse Jackson was. I bet you guys didn't even know that, huh? Because I didn't. I damn sure didn't. But I knew that Jesse Jackson was one of those ones who, you know, he was one of those people who was always having some type of power. He has some type of say or sway within the politics of America because let's be real, that's what he sold his soul for, right? That's what he gave, that's what he sacrificed his soul for. He didn't care about black people moving ahead. He just wanted something personally. And he just did what we see so many civil rights leaders do at the end of the day. Once they kind of realize that the crap's not working, once they kind of realize like the grift is not having the effect they hope, they just abandon the movement and then they start going out for self. We've seen Gina Davis do it. And the list goes on and on. But they just say, hey, look, I was in it for the people, but I'm in it for me now. Or were they always just in it for them? The world may never know. But Jesse Jackson, after his activism in the 60s, he founded, after his activism in the 60s, he founded the Rainbow Push Coalition. And it expanded his work into international affairs in the 1980s. He was the most vocal critic of the Reagan administration and launched the presidential campaign in 1984. Initially viewed as a fringe candidate, he finished third for the Democratic nomination behind former Vice President Walter Mondale and Senator Gary Hart. Understand that this guy was considered a joke. This guy was a fringe candidate, but actually was able to battle his way to finishing as the runner-up to the runner-up, which is it's not bad. It's not a bad position to be in. And guess what? Let's be real. That was all made possible because of Donald Trump. I mean, at the end of the day, Donald Trump should be like this guy's best friend. If there was anyone who would stand up for Donald Trump, no matter what, it should have been Jesse Jackson. But Jesse didn't do that. And his real name is Jesse Lewis Burns. It's not even Jesse Jackson. Did you guys know that? But I really didn't even care about Jesse Jackson passing away. I really wanted to do this live stream just to speak on the fact that I just think this dude was a low down son of a gun. I think he was no good. And I hope when I die, no one can ever speak on me the way we can speak on him based on the facts of his life. What do you guys think about this guy? Am I the only one who has smoke for Jesse Jackson? Because I'm seeing a lot of people are bashing him, but I feel like people are bashing Jesse for the wrong reasons. A lot of people are getting on Jesse Jackson for the term African American. Jesse Jackson did not coin that term. The term African American has been around since the early 1800s. Martin Delany and them boys, the first Pan-Africanists, were the ones who coined that term. That term appeared in books thousands of times before Jesse Jackson was even thought of. But you know, black folks, we looking for a reason to be mad at you. But I think my reason is a little bit more legit than like other people's reasons. And I know that my people who like, you know, rock with me, I know y'all think like I do. But I just can't get over the fact that someone can help someone so much and then that person turns on them for what? So you could be down with the Democrats? And ultimately, that's who Jesse Jackson sold black people out to. And that's what he sold black people out for. Because as much as the Democrat Party has hoodwinked and bamboozled black folks, as much as Martin Luther King said, I fear I've led my people into a burning house. Well, if Jesse Jackson or Jesse Burns was a protege of Martin Luther King, why wasn't he at the front of the at the front? Why wasn't he up on the podium screaming to black folks? No. They're tricking you. They're using this to take advantage of you, to manipulate you. And that's where I lost all the respect for Jesse. Jesse was supposed to be the number one. He was supposed to be the head nigga in charge when it came to explaining to black folks and helping black folks understand the manipulation tactics that were being used on them by the Democrat Party. But instead, Jesse just took the 30 pieces of silver, like, fuck it, do it to him. Go ahead and get them. As long as you pay me, as long as you put my sons on the board of all these companies. You know, Jesse Jackson's kids, his sons and stuff, they sat on the boards for they sat on the executive boards of Fortune 500 companies for years. Coca-Cola, I think PepsiCo, all these, I'm talking about major corporations. How did they get those opportunities? Well, that's the price that Jesse charged for us selling out. He ultimately said, damn the civil rights movement, damn helping these Negroes, just give me what I want, and I'll sit back and chill and watch you take advantage of them. And that's how I kind of know who's good. When I look at people like Jesse Jackson and who they support, I know what's good and what's bad for black folks. Whatever he supports, that's bad for black folks. Whatever he's against, that's good for black folks. Jesse Jackson was a big time supporter of Obama, at least on paper, because we even caught him talking shit on Obama behind his back on a hot mic. But when Jesse Jackson went against Trump, and I looked at the history and I found out all the stuff that Trump did for Jesse, I said, oh, this is the one right here. This is the one right here. Because Jesse Jackson, at the end of his life, he just became nothing but a Democratic attack dog. Just sad, like Steven from the Django. People will call me a coon. People will call guys like me a sellout. Oh, you ain't no good. You ain't nothing but a coon. You ain't nothing but a sellout. Who's the bigger sellout? Me or the guy who got in bed with the people who literally abused, brutalized, raped, and murdered his people for centuries, all for his own personal gain? Do you think Jesse Jackson didn't know that the Democrat Party created the KKK when he became a Democrat? Do you think he didn't know that when he ran as a Democrat? That's a bigger question. That's a bigger question. But like I said, he sold his people out for the 30 pieces of silver. He said, hell, I don't care what they did. If they're the ones who gonna give me a little recognition and shine, I'm down the road with them. How ridiculous can you be? How ridiculous can you be? And that helped me understand why people like Obama didn't really get real tight with the civil rights leaders. Because Obama's a smart guy. I mean, he was president. And as smart as he is, I bet he knew that these dudes were nothing but a bunch of snakes in the grass. So do I believe that Jesse Jackson died in shame? Hell yeah. If you have an ounce of self-respect, you have to admit that. If you have a molecule of truth within your body, you have to admit that. How do you die buck dancing, cooning, and shucking and jiving for a group of people who not only slaughtered your people mercilessly for decades, but who ultimately had no respect for you? When you ran for president, they didn't even respect you. They took you like a joke. And if anything, you could kind of say that Jesse Jackson's life was like a personification of the Black experience, where we constantly give and give and give to this Democrat Party, all in the name of being accepted. And at the end of the day, when we've given everything we've had to give, they just say, well, you still a nigga. We still don't respect you. We still ain't going to give you nothing. And we just got to be like black women, just fall in line with it. I'm on the internet today looking at black women still talking about they still boycotting Target. A black woman just got her line of baby diapers on the shelves of Target. And black women like, oh, you go, girl, but we're not going to be able to support you because we don't shop in Target. All black women. I was up in Target today, not giving a damn about a boycott. I didn't even know black people were still trying to boycott Target. But this is the stupidity. This is the stupidity. All right, where are you shopping at? If you ain't shopping at Target, you shopping at Walmart. And we already know the Walton family, they ain't fucking with black folks like that at all. So it's like, you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. Thus is the cyclic circular thinking of the Negro. I put the link in the comments for anybody who wants to give any thoughts on Jesse Jackson. I ain't messing with Jesse. I'm sorry. I'm just not messing with him. He's not somebody who I look up to, not somebody who I really respect like that. I think he's no good. I think he sold his people out for the 30 pieces of silver, and even worse, he sold out somebody who did nothing good for him. Because black folks didn't give Jesse millions. We wanted to go give Jesse shit. But the person who did give Jesse millions and always supported every single thing that he did, Jesse turned on him at the end of the day. Jesse's no good, man. Jesse is no good. And these are the people our people grew up looking up to. And then we wonder why our people exhibit the same type of behavior. Give me a 1 in the comments if you can hear me okay. And give me a 1 also if you can see me okay. Shout out to my boy, Sucker Season LA, for the $4.99 holler. Salute to the channel, bro. Thank you so much. Guys, yeah, we definitely have a goal. We have a goal today. We're going for 5 super chats of $5 or more. So if you're in a position to do so, please help us reach our goal. But we got some other stuff. Jesse ain't the only thing we talking about today, okay? We want to talk. There's some other things I want to discuss. There's some ooh. I start singing that Snoop. Yeah. What's up in Chicago, New York? I almost called it Chicago because it's very much like Chicago, where this guy Zohran Mamdani, the socialist Democratic socialist mayor, who told you he was going to give you free buses and free baby food and free health care and daycare for illegal immigrants. This guy is now saying that he is going to raise taxes on regular, run-of-the-mill, average Joe New Yorkers after he told everybody that he was only going to raise taxes on the rich. Why does that sound familiar? A Democrat socialist announcing that they're going to raise taxes on the middle class after running on a lie, a hoax of affordability, and saying that they were going to only tax the wealthy. How long are Democrat voters going to keep falling for this? How long? When are Democrat voters going to leer? When are they going to learn that these people are going to say, get elected, and the moment they achieve that, they will retract everything that they promised you, and they will go back to doing what Democrats do best. Taxing, implementing draconian taxes against you, and then spending your money frivolously on their little pet passion projects. And in this case, the pet passion project is immigrant rights. Let's play this.
I know that for those who have watched budget after budget, it is tempting to assume that we are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you.
You 100% are engaging in the same dance as your predecessors, Zohran.
Nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are 2 paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. The onus for resolving this crisis should not be placed on the backs of working and middle-class New Yorkers. If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes. We would also be forced to raid our reserves. To balance...
Ha! He said this is the only thing we could do. All we can do is raise property taxes. If you're not going to let us rob the rich, if you're not going to let us rob Peter to pay Paul, we're going to have to tax. We're going to have to raise property taxes. Why doesn't he say, you know what, we're going to have to budget and live within our means? Why doesn't he say we're going to have to cut spending on wasteful things? Like trying to give everybody free shit. But really, it ain't even giving everybody free stuff. It's claiming you're going to give a bunch of people free stuff. But at the end of the day, most of the money goes to what? NGOs, non-government organizations. Most of the money goes to the cronies of the leadership. Zoran Mamdani, this guy's constantly appointing people to new invented positions that never existed before. But he says the only way we're going to be able to handle this deficit is if we raise your taxes. And if you don't let us tax the rich, which he know Kathy Hochul's not going to do that. She's in a re-election year. Why would she let this fool tax the rich when she needs those donors? And on top of that, she's going to be in a very, very, very tough battle to retain her governorship against Elise Stefanik and her own lieutenant governor who's running against her. I forgot his name at this time. This was always the plan. Before, the Democrat Party used to say this: let's promise people everything, and then when we can't deliver, we'll just blame it on the Republicans, right? So that got kind of old because now the Democrat voters are like, no, you guys need to deliver and fight and all this stuff. So now what they do is they say, let's promise these idiots everything. Let's tell them that we're going to tax the rich only. We're only going to tax the rich and the wealthy and the people making over a certain amount of money, so they'll get on board with the idea of taxes, right? But then once we pass these new taxes into law and the rich flee the city, we'll leave a little clause in there that says, well, if we can't get the revenue that we need from the rich, then we can go and take it from the poor by raising property taxes. And I have another video that nobody's watching because I jacked up my YouTube algorithm. But in that video, I talk about how Abigail Spanberger did the same exact thing in the Virginia Commonwealth. She talked about this affordability. I'm calling it now the affordability hoax, where they deceive you and lie to you and manipulate you because they know that prices are high and you're struggling to make ends meet. So they say all this crap in the name of affordability because they know once you hear the word affordability, you're going to lower your guard and kind of like buy into what they're saying. And once they get into power, everything becomes all but affordable. It becomes less affordable. But there's this scripture in the Bible that I'm going to read to you after I let this play a little bit more. And I'm going to tell you that what's happening to these people in these Democrat cities and states, it's not even the politicians' fault. It's their own fault. It's their own fault. They're responsible for it, and ultimately only they can stop it.
Once the budget is required by law, our preliminary budget takes the only path within our control, the second path. The options of the second path are the options of last resort, options that we will only employ if there is no other means of arriving at a balanced budget. What we would rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
So Zoran just basically went gangster. At first, he was all smiles and socialism and everybody's going to have enough and all these sweet words and well wishes. Zoran just went straight gangster. Zoran said, F y'all. If Kathy Hochul doesn't let me do something that I knew she was not going to let me do, if she doesn't support me in creating a wealth tax, that's what this is. It's called a wealth tax. If she doesn't support me in implementing a wealth tax statewide, because obviously the corporations and the rich individuals, they're just running out of the city into the surrounding counties and areas. If she doesn't implement a statewide wealth tax, then I'm going to go back to business as usual by raiding the rainy day fund, which Eric Adams left for him. I think it's about $8 billion. I'm going to go about the business of raising the property taxes, all to fund my hyperinflated budget. This idiot is talking about giving free health care to illegal immigrants, free daycare to illegal immigrants, free affordable housing to illegal immigrants, and he wants you, the American taxpayers, to pay for it. He wants the taxpayers of New York to pay to build his socialist utopia when they voted to be beneficiaries. They voted to be the beneficiaries of the socialist utopia. They did not vote to be the financiers of it. They didn't vote to pay for it. They just voted so that they could benefit from it. And now he's telling them, well, you're going to pay for it and you're not going to even benefit from it. Only the illegal immigrants are going to benefit from it, right? There's a scripture in the Bible, and I got to read this to y'all because it's just so real. It's so true. And if people thought about this scripture more, we wouldn't even probably be dealing with any of this drama. Because what the Democrats know about their voters is they really don't give a shit about anybody else but themselves. And it's always easy to manipulate someone who is inherently selfish. That's just the way it is. You can always take advantage of a selfish person because selfish people only operate based on self-enrichment. And when you only operate based on self-enrichment, it blinds you to a lot of things. So there was somebody, much smarter than me who existed, allegedly, who gave an example of this. And it's really timely because when you look at the protests and stuff over in Minneapolis, you see them waving these signs around talking about we got to protect our neighbors. This is a big thing now. This idea of the neighbor. What they're trying to do is they're trying to play on something in the Bible that they don't believe in because they're demons. And they're trying to use it to try to make like a emotional connection with people who stand, for what's right. People who believe in God and stand on faith and righteousness. But it's not ever going to work. So the scripture is at Luke, the 10th chapter, and it's verses 25. And I'm hoping you guys, because I'm going to let y'all see this. Hold on. Let me share this tab instead. Boom. And I'm going to just read this. And hopefully this will make this stuff like clear to you. So here it says, now look, a man versed in the law stood up to test him. And by him, they mean Jesus. Now, I know a lot of y'all, we don't do the religion and we don't believe in it. Yeah, but a lot of y'all dumb and don't understand basic things. Not a lot of y'all, but there are a lot of stupid people who probably could benefit from just reading the Bible and learning through illustrations and parables because that's like simplifies it down so you can understand it. So it says, so Jesus is here and he's teaching his disciples and he's just giving them game like a big brother. And it says, now look, a man versed in the law stood up to test him and said, teacher, what do I need to do to inherit everlasting life? He said to him, what is written in the law? Jesus said to him, what is written in the law? How do you read? In answer, the man said, you must love Jehovah your God with your whole heart and your whole soul and with your whole strength and with your whole mind. And you must love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said to him, you answer correctly. Keep doing this and you will get life. But wanting to prove himself righteous, like the people in the streets fighting ICE and stuff, the people out here at these protests, they want to prove themselves righteous. So wanting to prove himself righteous, the man said to Jesus, who really is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said to him, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell victim to robbers who stripped him, beat him, and went off, leaving him half dead. Now, by coincidence, a priest was going down on that road. But when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the opposite side. But a certain Samaritan, traveling the road, came upon him, and at seeing him, he was moved with pity. So he approached him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. Then he mounted him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, "Take care of him, and whatever you spend besides this, I will repay you when I return." Who of these 3 seemed to you to have made himself neighbor to the man who fell victim to the robbers? He said, "The one who acted mercifully towards him." Jesus then said to him, "Go and do the same yourself." So what we know is the person who is merciful, who is your neighbor, is the person who acts mercifully towards you. But what happens in these Democrat cities and these Democrat-run states is the Democrat Party convinces people to turn on their neighbor, right? They say, "Oh, he's not really your neighbor because he makes more money than you. He's not really your neighbor because he drives a nicer car than you. He's not really your neighbor because his wife is finer than your wife. He's not really your neighbor because he has nicer clothes than you." And these people buy into this. So they develop this mindset where they say, "Well, who's my neighbor is not determined by who's merciful to me," right? That's not what matters. What matters is how much money the person make. Is the person still in the same tax bracket as me? Then that becomes that's who they think is their neighbor. So when the politician gets them thinking like this, it's easy to get them to go along with policies that exploit that person with more, because now they're not even looking at that person as their neighbor. They're only looking at that person as someone in a higher tax bracket. But here's the problem. The Bible says that when you dig a hole for somebody else, beware that you don't fall in it. And that's exactly what's happening in the Democrat Party. The poor Democrats are trying to dig a hole for the rich Democrats, right? They're trying to dig a hole for their richer or more well-off neighbors, but they're the ones falling in it. And that's exactly what's going on in New York. A bunch of brokies in New York voted for Zohran Mamdani because he promised that he would rob Peter to pay Paul. He would take by force the wealth of their rich neighbors and redistribute it among them and screw what happens to the rich guy, right? But the rich people got wise. They said, "Look, we just gonna leave. And when we leave, we're gonna take our businesses with us. And once they leave and their businesses leave, guess who's left to foot the bill? Guess who's left to fund the socialist utopia that these people claim or think that they're gonna build? It's the poor folks." That's exactly what happened in Chicago. The poor Negroes of Chicago colluded with Brandon Johnson, thinking that they were going to be able to empower him to exploit and take advantage of the rich folks in that city. And when the rich folks caught wind of it, they fled like Lot and his wife and his family from Sodom and Gomorrah. And once they all realized, damn, they're not going to stick around for us to tax them into oblivion, well, guess what? They were the ones left holding the bill, right? But who really is your neighbor? Did Jesus tell that guy, "Oh yeah, the one who was his neighbor was the one who made the same money as him or who did the same job as him"? No. Your neighbor is the one who shows you mercy. Your neighbor is the one who looks upon you in your time of need and shows pity upon you. Look at Black Lives Matter. Who gave Black Lives Matter 90 million? Was it the Democrat Party? Or was it those same racist, rich white folks who owned all those corporations that they claim were the enemy? To this day, I'm freaking Deontay Wilder right now. I have yet to see the Democrat Party deliver this mercy and this neighborly love that they claim to have for African Americans or any other minorities in a way that we can see. I have yet to see tangibles ever come from the Democrat Party on behalf of African Americans. I have yet to see that. But they will continue to promise you, continue to set neighbor against neighbor, all in the name of being able to manipulate you into putting yourself in a bad situation to where now they got you on the hook. And you notice in these Democrat cities, they always have some type of stipulations in the rules to where you can't get rid of these people. Because I bet 90% of the people who voted for Zohran Mamdani want to get rid of him right now. See, the rich, they can live anywhere they want. When you're rich, you can say, F it, we just going to move down to Florida. F it, we're going to just move down to California. But when you're broke, you're stuck. So they can really take advantage of you. But what I want you to take home, what I want you to really take from this is that when you start operating in a way that is unloving towards your true neighbors, when you start plotting on the people who live right in your neighborhood or in your city or your community, it's always going to end bad for you. Because 90% of the time, if it hurts them, it's going to hurt you. And that's the problem with Democrats. That's why these Democrat voters, that's what makes them the perfect stooges for the Democrat Party. They don't think things through. They only think about it they only think about it up until the point where they get something for free. They didn't even think, like people, we were kind of warning them, hey, if you throw these taxes on the rich, they just gonna move out. No, they not. No, they not. We done went up in millionaires and billionaires shit. Soon as they came with the wealth tax proposals, them rich folks got on, bro. Left them like they daddy, left they mama. Let's tap into this.
I don't want to raise taxes on millionaires. And this morning she said she doesn't support property tax hikes. I wonder if we have a situation where this is a clash between ideology and reality, and if faced with the fact that you won't get those taxes from Albany, would you really, really, really raise property taxes here in New York City?
This is not a conversation on the basis of ideology. This is a conversation about a fiscal crisis. I have long believed in the importance of taxing the rich. I've said so publicly many a time.
My thing is this. Zohran Mamdani acts as if he didn't know the financial situation of the city before he ran for mayor. But the city has a rainy day fund, which means the city's not really in a deficit. The reality is the new budget that he is proposing that he wants to implement will put the city into a deficit. That's the problem, because he's trying to give away a bunch of stuff for free to the people who he believes will be his future voters. That's it. That's why he wants to give it to the illegals, because he knows that if he gives it to the illegals, he will at least acquire the vote of their legal family members, relatives, friends, or their countrymen who now live in the United States. They're trying to buy the vote. And what's bad is they're trying to use taxpayer dollars to buy the vote. And they're basically saying, if you don't pay for us to buy the vote, we're basically going to screw you over. They want the rich. The Democrat Party is trying to force the rich to fund their political ambitions and endeavors. But the rich are like, nah, scatter, break out. We going to Texas, we going to Florida, we going to Idaho, we getting the hell out of here. And so then the politicians, the Democrats are saying, well, if the rich won't fund our political endeavors, well, we're going to force the poor to fund it. And these idiots are just stooges. They putting a carrot out in front of them that they're never going to reach. And they just like, yeah, let's just keep voting on it because free sounds great.
And I've long believed in the need for the state and the city's relationship to be a fair one. What we are speaking about in this moment, however, is not just that long-standing belief, the long-standing issues that have characterized that relationship, but a generational fiscal crisis of $5.4 billion. And when faced with this crisis, the question is, who should pay these taxes? I believe that it should be the wealthiest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations. I believe that they can afford to pay a little bit more. We are in the most expensive city in the United States of America. I firmly believe in the need to make this an affordable city. I believe that we do so and reckon with structural crises by pursuing the first path, one of raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers, the most profitable corporations, and ending the drain.
Why is it always about raising taxes? Why can't it ever just be about being more responsible fiscally? Why can't it ever be about cutting waste? Well, New York is a huge city. I know they got a bunch of wasteful spending going on over there. It's never about cutting. It's always just about give us more, give us more, give us more. As we watch states and cities down south cut their budget, slash their budgets by 20 and 30%, the states in the north, New York, California, all they do, we're going to keep raising the budget and we're going to keep raising your taxes to pay for it. Even in California, they're proposing a raise in the sales tax now. It's ridiculous. The Democrats do not know how to govern. They do not know how to manage money, that's for sure, unless it's their own, I'm sure. And they think that the taxpayers of America are nothing but a glorified ATM machine where they can come and just make a withdrawal whenever they freaking feel like it.
Really, when push comes to shove, raise the property taxes?
I do not want to raise property taxes. I have said time and time again that
He wants to do whatever he has to do to get this money so that he can give these illegals free services so that he can buy the vote of their legal counterparts and their illegal vote if they're going to go cast one.
is a broken system, one that we are sincerely looking to reform, which is why we're going to be sending up a proposed piece of legislation in the next few weeks. What I am showcasing to New Yorkers is that there is one tax the city can raise. It is a broken property tax system. We do not want to do so, which is why we have said time and again that we want to work with Albany to ensure that we resolve this fiscal crisis by addressing the structural roots of it. Thank you, Marshall.
Yeah. So what Zoran is saying is basically give us the money or we're going to raise taxes on everybody. So without further ado,
he's threatening to raise property taxes for people living in the city. Fox 5's Morgan McKay is live at City Hall with the details. Morgan.
Hey, Steve and Natasha. Mayor Zoran Mamdani is proposing raising property taxes by 9.5% to fill the city's budget gap, calling this the nuclear option if state lawmakers don't raise taxes on millionaires and corporations this year. Now, the last time the city raised property taxes so significantly was in 2003 under former Mayor Michael Bloomberg, following the 9/11 terror attacks that led to a recession. Now, Mamdani says that the city is currently facing a $5.4 billion budget gap over 2 years. He claims the city only has two options to raise this revenue to fill the gap. Option one is to have state lawmakers raise taxes on millionaires and corporations and have the state contribute more back to the city in revenue. Option two, which a mayor called a last resort, is to increase property taxes by 9.5% and drain the city's rainy day fund.
well, you know, there's also a third option too. The third option is to cut spending, right? They're not going to do that,
Samira.
right? He's not going to do that. Now, keep in mind, this man inherited a balanced budget from Eric Adams, right? And he inherited the so-called rainy day fund, right? But this dude got in the office and said, Eric Adams left me with a budget crisis. No, he didn't. He left you with a balanced budget and a surplus, right? A surplus. So what has Zoran done? Well, he created the budget and he realized that, oh, wait, free stuff ain't free, right? In order to pay for universal child care, free buses, all of his campaign promises, all the things that he promised his silly supporters, right? That costs money. Free stuff ain't free, right? And this is, again, it's so frustrating because these people run around, these socialists, these progressives run around saying they want free this, free that, and none of it is free. It's not free. You have to pay for it. It has to be paid for, okay? It's not free. It's never free. And the socialist, he's finding out the hard way, right? That you got to live within your means, that illegals cost money. So again, we're talking about a $12 billion budget deficit that he created. He created that deficit. He inherited a balanced budget. He could have just stuck with the budget. No. He said, we need $12 billion more dollars that we don't have to fulfill my campaign promises, to pay for illegals, right? Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, we only need 5.7 billion now, right? Magically, that budget deficit has gotten smaller because he's gotten some pushback from state lawmakers. So he's trying to negotiate, right? But again, he's basically threatening to raise taxes on everybody if he doesn't get what he wants.
Fiscal watchdog groups like the Citizens Budget Commission have been urging the city to find savings and cut programs rather than raise taxes. The mayor said the administration already budgeted for about $1.7 billion in savings they hope to find over the next 2 years. But Mamdani continued
They hope to find, right? Hope to find. Not that, hey, we found it and we're going to cut this. No, we hope to find it. Incredible.
insist that the only way out of this crisis is to raise taxes, and the only taxes he can control are property taxes.
If we find additional savings, we will absolutely use them. However, responsibly, I cannot tell New Yorkers that that is the likelihood over these next few months.
Listen, the guy is acting like he's not drawing up the budget. Everything in that budget is things that Zohran Mamdani is trying to pay for. And that's why he was able to take the budget from $12 billion down to $7 billion. And now he's talking about $5 billion. But for the way this guy is holding New Yorkers hostage, either give me all Kathy Hochul, either give me this money or pass a wealth tax in New York, in the whole state, or I'm about to raise the taxes on the citizens. And see, Kathy Hochul, it's like, it's nothing she can really do because New Yorkers voted for this guy. They said, this is the person we want. The person who's about to exploit us and take advantage of us because we won't because his plan, his lie, basically backfired. So imagine that. I promise you something. I tell you it's going to be this way. It doesn't end up being this way. So now you got to pay me. Now you got to pay more. Like, bro, where's the accountability? Absolutely none. This guy doesn't give a damn.
AK, we're not cutting anything, right? We're not cutting.
Yeah, he's not cutting anything. And people like me and people like Greg Foreman, we see it. We see it. But I don't know why these Democrats, especially the men within the party, why they act like they're blind to it.
Showcasing to New Yorkers is that there is one tax the city can raise. It is a broken property tax system. We do not want to do so, which is why we have said time and again that we want to work with Albany to ensure that we resolve this fiscal crisis.
But critics of the plan say raising property taxes goes against the mayor's affordability agenda, especially as the mayor is still looking to freeze the rent for rent-stabilized apartments. Governor Kathy Hochul just yesterday announced her plan to have the state give the city an additional $1.5 billion this year, which shrunk the original $7 billion gap to $5.4 billion. Hochul today said she is opposed to the mayor raising property taxes, adding that she doesn't think it's needed. The new council speaker, Julie Menin, also pushing back, saying in a statement that proposing to raise property taxes is not an option that should even be on the table. Queens Borough President Donovan Richards also weighing in, saying it's a non-starter and would severely impact homeowners in Queens.
You're going to force people out of their homes. You're talking about putting people, especially seniors, our most vulnerable seniors who have absolutely done everything. They've built these cities. This was your HRA workers. These are your NYPD officers who really have done everything to build home ownership and generational wealth. And this is certainly a setback.
Now, Mamdani today emphasized that this is a preliminary budget, which means it can and most likely will change during budget negotiations. The city must have a finalized budget by July 1st. Reporting from City Hall, I'm Morgan Mackay. Steve Natasha.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It's almost as if this guy has never seen a budget, right? He's never had the budget, and now he's finding out. Again.
Yeah, sadly, Zohran is not the one finding out. The people of New York are finding out. Zohran knew where this was going to go. He understood it. He knew what was going to happen. He basically just bamboozled and hoodwinked these people. And now that he's not getting his way, now that he couldn't force these multimillionaires and stuff to stay in the city. Now he's just like, now you're gonna pay for it. He's basically punking. He's basically punking the city, this people of New York, and they're gonna act like a bunch of cucks and just take it. Look at the people in Chicago. Look what they're doing. They're raising hell about the situation with Brandon Johnson, but ultimately there's nothing they can do. This is who you voted for. This is the leadership you chose. This is what happens when you choose leadership based on color and you choose leadership based on sweet words and smiles and little fruity ass songs and everything he was doing. Entertainment value. Entertainment value. You didn't elected a damn Islamic tyrant to run your city, and now you don't know what you're gonna do. And that councilman, he's like, yeah, this is gonna hurt older people. This is gonna hurt the elderly, people who worked for the city and helped build this city. That's who this is gonna affect. And I bet you those same people was voting for Zohran Mamdani out of some personal vendetta they had against Sliwa or the other dude, Kumo. But I told everybody, I was like, man, just vote for Sliwa. Just vote for Sliwa. He seems to have a love for the city of New York. But hey, the idea of free stuff is just too appealing. The idea of free stuff is just too tempting for people to make a logical decision. But nothing is free. Even when they tell you buy one, get one free, you best believe you paid for it when you bought the one, right? Buy 3, get one free. Like, dude, do I really need 3 of these? But can't tell these folks nothing. All right, there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. Guys, don't forget, we are definitely having a donation goal here. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe. We definitely got a donation goal. We're trying to get 5 super chats of $5 or more before the time is up for the show. We are at 1 right now, and we're needing 4 more to reach our goal. Help us reach our goal so that you can keep seeing this great content that you love so much. Now, there was a story. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was about this guy, this transgender neo-Nazi guy who shot up his son's hockey game in Rhode Island. Did you guys hear about that? This dude, Dorgan, is his last name, a.k.a. Roberta Esposito. Robert Dorgan, a.k.a. Roberta Esposito, a transgender man and father, killed his wife, his ex-wife, and his son, who was engaged to be married in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And for some reason, they are trying to hide the fact that this person was a transgender. And it's probably because there's been so many mass shootings lately that involve transgenders. And there's a whole narrative around transgenders that they don't want to kill. So their only option when transgenders snap is to try to hide it. I'm actually going to go to one of my own videos here because I be making videos too, you know. And we could check it. We can check it out.
Chilling video here showing the moments a shooter opened fire at a high school ice hockey game in Rhode Island. Police now reviewing this footage showing the scramble to escape the gunfire. Tonight we're learning new details about the person behind the gun and the possible family dispute that may have led to this deadly shooting.
The night before the bloodshed, the 56-year-old dad, who underwent gender reassignment surgery in 2020, also made an ominous post on X. In response to a post calling trans Democratic Representative Sarah McBride a man, Dorgan wrote, "Keep bashing us, but do not worry why we go berserk." Dorgan also posted a similar response to a post from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. In other X posts, Dorgan offered his support for the Second Amendment and ICE and his disdain for abortion. Dorgan also appeared to be a Nazi sympathizer and had a history of spewing anti-Semitic and racist rhetoric on social media, making repeated references to white power and white pride worldwide in several post replies. The day before his rampage at the hockey rink, Dorgan posted an anti-Asian slur as he replied to a video praising Adolf Hitler. One photo posted online even showed Dorgan brandishing a large SS symbol tattoo on his right arm, a reference to Hitler's secret police force.
A crazy situation unfolded at a high school hockey game yesterday in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where transgender father Robert Dorgan, aka Roberta Esposito, opened fire in the middle of the game on his own family, shooting 4 and killing 2. And what makes this extra tragic is the fact that after the shooting, which was ended thanks to a good Samaritan who actually intervened, Robert or Roberta's own daughter made it very clear that her father suffered from mental health issues.
This woman says the shooter was her father.
What was the reasoning? Was there a family argument?
He has mental health issues. He's just very sick. If you have a loved one who you think is sick, trust your gut.
And while we just want to get to the bottom of this situation and mourn the lives lost and see what we can do to prevent situations from this happening in the future, there is a question that we all unfortunately have to ask. How many more transgender mass shootings are we going to endure before we accept the reality of the situation that we are faced with? We are told that we need to affirm trans people, trans kids, anyone identifying as trans. We are told that if we don't agree with or play along with their mental health induced delusion, mental illness induced delusions, then we are somehow bigoted, insensitive, and we are not doing our part to be inclusive and to perpetuate unity. But the reality that I'm seeing, and I'm pretty sure you're seeing it too, is that no matter how much you affirm these people who are suffering from this very tragic, very sad identity disorder, no matter how much you affirm, there seems to be those among their ranks who lose control of their mental stability, and they show this or display this in the form of mass killings. Robert or Roberta Esposito pretty much was what you would think of when you consider a biological male who believes to himself to be a female. If you look at his pictures, I don't know if he had top surgery where he gave himself woman-like breast, but from the images it looks like he did. He's a pretty big burly guy, real ugly woman, not someone who can easily pass for a woman, but because Robert suffered from a mental health issue that was not identified and treated according to the true treatment regimen that should be prescribed to his situation, but instead was someone who was pacified and allowed to continue to live within his delusion to the point where he lashed out at a hockey game and murdered 2 people. And there seems to have been an ongoing family conflict. The authorities say that the shooting was targeted. They say that Robert or Roberta entered into the hockey game, the high school hockey game, with the intention of opening fire on the people whom he sought to kill. And at this time, we don't know if his daughter was one of the people he wanted to kill, but what we know is 4 people were shot, 2 people died, and it is an absolutely tragic situation. And what makes it even worse is that This could have been avoided. This could have been avoided. So what we're learning here is that Robert uh, basically entered into the hockey game, and the victims, the people he was after were members of his own family, and his intention of going there was to shoot these people, and he opened fire, and it was a good Samaritan inside the arena who intervened and attempted to subdue him. So understand, you have a man dressed like a woman who thinks he's a woman opening fire inside of a high school hockey game, and a good Samaritan jumped in, risked their own safety to subdue this attempt to subdue this person, and the police are giving this person credit, saying that it was due to his quick thinking and his decision to act, which kept the situation from escalating and prevented more lives from being lost at the hands of Roberta Esposito. There's video footage of the situation, and there was actually a live streaming sports broadcast, which actually was able to capture all the audio, the shots, and everything. And it sounds like, if you listen to the video, Robert shot about 13 shots. That's a lot. 13. He only managed to hit 4 people, but he shot 13, which shows he was definitely he was definitely attempting to take out more people. This is really, really sad. The governor of Rhode Island, Dan Mackey, and other local officials are expressing their devastation over the event. The FBI's Boston division has been deployed to assist local police in the investigation. This sounds very familiar, doesn't it? This sounds very familiar. We already know, if you think about Rhode Island, in recent news, we know that they have a hard time solving crime and getting to the bottom of situations. So it's good to see that at least now they have a motive, unlike certain crimes that they've pretty much dropped the ball on in the past. We all remember what happened with the Brown situation. The ineptitude of Rhode Island's law enforcement apparatus was on full display, but thank goodness someone intervened. So Robert was quickly identified. His motive was quickly determined, and it's just a tragedy. There's no other way to do it. But we got to do something about this mental health situation in America. I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? As Americans, we all have a choice in this. Are we going to keep playing along with these people who need serious help when it comes to their mental stability? Or are we going to actually stand up like damn human beings, like Americans, help these people get the help that they need to at least remove one dangerous element from within our society? If you walk around and you're a woman who thinks you're a man, or you're a man who thinks you're a woman, at the very minimum, you need to be evaluated to see if you have any violent thoughts that could lead to you hurting someone else or hurting yourself. And the biggest aspect of this whole thing is many of these transgender people, while not being violent, they've been fear-mongered by society, certain elements within our society, to believe that everyone hates them and everyone walking around wants nothing more but to kill them and harm them and hurt them. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm about as regular, I'm about as American as apple pie. And I have never once in my life thought to hurt someone simply because they are a biological man who enjoys wearing dresses and thinks he's a female, or a biological woman who enjoys wearing suspenders in overalls and thinks that she's a man. I've never thought about doing that. And I'm sure those of you who watch this video, you've never thought about that either. So in my opinion, I live in an area very close to a gay community. So, and in my opinion, I feel like many of these fears are really unjustified. Definitely the fires of this fear is stoked by the mainstream media, the NGOs, nonprofits, and lobbyists, and even private citizens who collude with these LGBTQ plus IA organizations to continue to call attention to a threat that is not really there in an effort to secure federal funds, federal and state funds to enrich themselves and the people who are a part of these schemes. What immediately comes to mind is like Black Lives Matter, right? Lesbian-led organization, LGBTQ-led organization. They secured $90 million in the name of Black men and women who are killed by law enforcement. And at the end of the day, what did they deliver? They enriched themselves and built incredible, very impressive stock portfolios. So this is what we have going on. We have significant numbers of people within our society being purposely brainwashed and radicalized in the name of the enrichment, all for the enrichment and wealth generation of people who honestly couldn't even care less about them. I send my condolences to the victims. Hell, I even send my condolences to Robert, man. It's sad. You know, it's really sad that we've reached a point in America where not only men and women are in a state of psychosis, in a state of mental breakdown, and they can't even get the help they need because people want to use their illness, their sickness, and their suffering as a political weapon against whichever side of the party that they're of the aisle that they're going against. And it's just not right. But let me know what you think in the comments about this situation. Do you think that we need to start doing mandatory government regulated and supervised assessments of people who reveal themselves to suffer from identity disorder or transgender identity disorder? I don't even know what you would call it. Do you think that these people are not a threat because they just represent such a small amount of the population? Or do you believe that it's better safe than sorry and these people should undergo extensive evaluation before being released into society? Do you think we need to bring back mental institutions, mental health institutions where people can be held until they are deemed fit to re-enter society, or where they can be held for an extended period of time if they do not agree to participate in these evaluations just to keep us all safe? I'm gonna let you tell me what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching us. Till the next time, take care of yourselves, but most importantly, take care of each other. Yeah, so basically we have a serious mental health crisis in this country. For the better part of 20 years, we've been being told that we have to affirm these crazy folks, and that if you don't affirm them, they're going to somehow commit suicide and off themselves. We know that this is not true because now many of these transgender people, especially the young ones, they are now suing these doctors who they say rushed them to get life-changing, permanent procedures, irreversible procedures done to their body too quickly. One girl said that one day she told her teacher that, you know, she didn't feel like she was in the right body. 6 months later, she's getting a double mastectomy. 6 months. And the girl is suing them, saying that they forced her. Like, they basically were like, you have to do this or one day you're going to wake up and just kill yourself. And the girl says she had no suicidal thoughts. But they told her if she doesn't do a double mastectomy, she's going to wake up and kill. It's just crazy. But this guy, Robert Gruder or whatever his name is, Roberta Esposito, he wasn't even a liberal. So we know it's not something that's just like liberal or conservative. He was a conservative, but he was a conservative transgender neo-Nazi who loved I think he loved Marjorie Taylor Greene. But then you see on the other side, you got some liberal transgender lunatic shooting up a school or something. This is just purely a mental health issue that needs to be addressed. It can no longer be ignored. It can no longer be pacification is no longer going to work. We have to start doing something about it. We have to start doing something about it. And there's ways to handle it. There's ways to handle it, but we can only handle it if they let us. Now, let me say this. We have
how cool it is.
The Olympics going on. The Winter Olympics are happening. No one's watching it, but they're happening. Okay? And I guess in an attempt to bring spotlight to their sports that nobody wants to watch. The United States skiers, they're just bashing the government. Like, you're representing the United States of America in all its imperfection, but you're bashing the government. Hold on. I don't understand this. You go out to represent your nation. If you got an issue with your nation, handle business when you're at home. But don't get on stage at the Olympics and start calling yourself speaking out against ICE and the government and all this stuff, dude. Like, I don't like that. I really don't like that. These people, it's the wrong stage. It's not the right time. And they need to be out there focused on winning, not trying to win some ideological moral battle. Like, my whole issue is, if you have a problem with ICE, you have a problem with America. No one can go to any country on earth and just say, you know what? We're just going to stay there. No one can do that. But for some reason, a damn trust fund kid, a Olympic skier, you know your parents got money. You doing some BS like that. You know your parents got money. You got so much to say about the people who are keeping you safe.
American freestyle skier Hunter Hess has posted a positive message about the U.S. after President Trump bashed him over previous comments that he made. Hess wrote on Instagram, "I love my country. There's so much that is great about America, but there are always things that could be better. One of the many things that makes this country so amazing is we have the right and the freedom to point that out."
The American freestyle skier had faced backlash from the right for saying that he had, quote, mixed emotions about representing America at the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. Here was Hess speaking to the media ahead of Friday's opening ceremony.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
Over those comments, President Trump blasted Hess, writing on Truth Social, U.S. Olympic skier Hunter Hess, a real loser, says he doesn't represent his country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he should have tried out for the team. He shouldn't have tried out for the team, and it's too bad he's on it. Very hard to root for someone like this.
Moreover, two-time Olympian Chris Lillis said that he's, quote, heartbroken over the current administration's actions, but he would never want to represent another country in the games. Senator Bernie Sanders also weighed in on X, writing, quote, Trump called American Olympian Hunter Hess a, quote, real loser for criticizing what's happening in our country. Under Mr. Trump, Mr. President, this is not a monarchy. This is the United States, and no one is required to bow down to you.
Yeah, and he's not required to bow down to anyone. But that's some hoe ass shit. You get on the international stage and start trying to bash your own country. And the hypocrisy of it is this. You're doing what you're doing trying to put on a show for other countries that would never let you do what you're trying to get the United States to allow people to do in their country. What I would have said to this pussy is this. Okay, Hunter Hess, nobody watches the gay shit that you do anyway. If you can find a country on earth where you can just go there, start working, decide that, hey, I like you here, I'm going to stay here permanently, and they're not going to immediately throw your ass in prison or deport you, then we'll eradicate ICE and take them off the streets. Nowhere in the world. Rotten Roll, I see what you're talking about. Some American skier wants to represent China now. Yeah, this type of nonsense. They keep criticizing America, but they can't tell you what country has these rules or what country doesn't have these rules that America is simply enforcing. That's no one asks these questions of these people. They literally just let these people say anything. If I'm a reporter, I'm going to say, okay, since America's so terrible and all this stuff, what country allows people to just show up, set up camp, work, participate in the economy without no documents, nothing? None. None. That's why I don't like these people. Dude, shut up and dribble, dude. And this is why a lot of people just have that attitude when it comes to athletes. It's not because we don't want them to exercise their freedom of speech. It's just they're so dumb and uninformed. They're just an embarrassment. Not only to themselves, but they're an embarrassment to our country. Bro, you don't know what you're talking about. It's really pathetic.
Meanwhile, Real Clear Politics reporter Philip Wegman wrote on X, because the press is obsessed with asking Olympians about American politics, a welcome change could be asking Eileen Gu, the U.S. skier competing for the CCP, about China giving Jimmy Lai a death sentence.
Fair point.
Some news from this week that a prominent Hong Kong dissenter, businessman Jimmy Lai, has been sentenced. So I agree that our athletes have freedom of speech, and they can criticize the country, and they can criticize Trump, and that's a beautiful thing. It's fine. It always sounds pretty hypocritical, though, frankly, when you speak up at an international event where you're competing against people in truly repressive countries who won't dare criticize their governments because their governments will torture their families. So maybe just sit this one out, Chief.
Man, 100%.
Would be my take, even though, yes, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, you have the power to say wherever you want. But if you're going to criticize America, now ask every athlete there about the politics in their country right now. Don't just single out America. Just to give you guys some clarity, the guy, Jimmy Lai, he did not get sentenced to death by the CCP. He's just old as hell. They gave him a 20-year sentence. He's 78 years old. He's basically going to die in jail. And so they're considering that a death sentence. But all Jimmy Lai is doing, he's just a free speech advocate in China. That's it. He just advocates for the people of China to have freedom of speech. And there's a U.S. athlete who is now competing for the CCP. Do you see how this shit ain't really, they're not really doing this on the merit. They're not doing this on the merit. They only have a problem with it because it's the United States doing it. But if it's any other country doing it, they're okay with it. That you can't live your life like that. George Washington warned against allowing other countries to influence your politics, because other countries will ask you to do things that they wouldn't do. Mexico asked you to take a bunch of their little dust mites over here and let them live here, but let 1,000 or 1 million Americans flood into their country. You're gonna get whooped up and shipped out. They want you to do something they're unwilling to do. But look at that. You're in a country, you got Americans defecting to go represent countries where they're giving a guy life in prison at 78 years of age because he's just an advocate for free speech. He ain't breaking no law. Well, maybe he is, but he's just saying, look, you should be able to say whatever you want to say in China. like you can in America. But people don't realize. People really don't realize that even in countries that you think are free, like go to Europe, even in some countries where you think, oh, it's like the United States, it ain't like the United States, y'all. One thing you learn going around the world is you can't just say whatever you want to say. I don't care where you're at, Europe, Asia, the UAE. You cannot just blab off at the mouth about whatever. You will get arrested. You will get deported. Hell, you go to Africa and talk shit, you'll get straight disappeared. Go to Kenya and be like, F Ruto. Your ass is going to be gone, dog. Straight up. But people want to talk down on the United States like the United States is doing something wrong just because they're enforcing their sovereignty.
No, the chief that should sit this one out is President Trump. He needs to just don't watch shows he doesn't like we caught him watching the Super Bowl.
he can't watch the Super Bowl now? This lady's a fucking... I don't like this black lady right here. But she's better than the other black lady who was trying to fight, bro. But she's just a Democrat. And the worst part about her, she knows what she says is BS.
He was watching Bad Bunny perform, but whatever, we'll talk about that soon. We also know that he's reading and watching what's going on with the Olympics, and he doesn't like what people say, and then he starts to personally attack them. People need to understand that dissent is the foundation of this.
Why wouldn't the president watch the Olympics?
Country. So if you look at the Boston Tea Party, the Civil Rights Movement, these are people dissenting the policies and the governments in America, but also saying, I still love my country. I want to live here. I don't like the way that things are being handled by the government. Let me finish. He's allowed to say that. And so just because China is doing it even worse doesn't mean you should keep your mouth shut. If somebody asks athletes about that, that's up to the journalists to continue to ask other countries. But the answer is not wrong no matter what it is. He's there supporting the country, representing the U.S., hopefully winning gold.
Okay, if we're going to ask the athletes to opine on geopolitical affairs, let's ask them about China, let's ask them about Russia, and let's see.
Yeah, but geopolitical affairs they might not be in tune with. They live in America, breathe American soil, breathe American air. They're talking about what's happening in their country. He said, I'm looking at the policies and I don't like everything that's going on.
I actually don't blame, to Philip Wegman's point, I don't really blame the athletes. I blame media. Needs to stop asking them those kinds of questions. There's no value to it. They're just trying to stir the pot, create conflict and discord, and there's no reason for that. I will also say additionally, maybe this is an unpopular take, I do not care about the Olympics in the least bit.
What do you mean?
I don't think I have ever watched a single second of an Olympic event, and I don't ever intend to because I don't care.
You know, my career started at NBC, and so they had the Olympics coverage, and I used to watch all the different sports, especially the winter ones.
I mean, our longtime viewers know I'm not a big sports fan.
Yeah, man, the Olympics are weak. The Winter Olympics are trash. No one's watching that shit. I was at a little restaurant today. They had that shit on. I was like, can y'all turn this to something interesting? Cross-country skiing. Like, who cares about that? Your sport is already dead, bro. And I'm telling you, they say this stuff to try to bring like some type of attention to their sport. That's the only reason. They don't care about this stuff, dude. So athletes care about athletics. I love Michael Jordan. I love all those old school athletes who just were like, I'm not getting into politics. Republicans buy Jordans too. Like, that's what I like. Just stay out of it. Just stay out of it. Unless you're like a person who's informed on the subject matter. But nah, they can't. They got to just bash. Oh, I don't like what's going on. And my question is, like, I want to ask these people, what is your alternative? What is your alternative? How would you like the country to go about getting rid of illegal immigrants? That's my only question. And you know they have no ideas. All they can do is criticize what you're doing. Guys, I think we're going to do one more topic. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Please remember we have a donation goal. To this point, we have 1 out of 5. We are looking for $5 contributions before the end of the show. We're going to do one more topic, and I was really trying to decide which topic I wanted to do because there's a lot going on. People are saying the news cycle is dead, but it's really not. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we got neo-Nazi transgender fathers shooting up hockey rinks. Like, I don't know about you, but we're living in exciting times. Ooh. Yeah, let's do this one. Jasmine Crockett, the most ghettoist of the ghetto Democrats. She is now cannibalizing on her own party. Well, not her party. She's cannibalizing on Democrat shill Stephen Colbert, saying that he's lying about something. That's unheard of. Democrats attacking the media? The media is 95% in favor of Democrats on everything. So to see a Democrat attacking the media is crazy. Let's see what the deal is. They say that X is the man. X been the man and he still is. All right. So let's listen to what Jasmine Shanae Crockett is mad about today. Talk your shit, Shanae.
We've all seen the attack ads that have come on behalf of my primary opponent, who supposedly wants to get rid of super PACs, yet doesn't have anything to say about the negative ads, the ads that are darkening my skin, and this continual kind of, if she wins, we lose. It's not even undertones right now. It is straight up racist. So I am tired of people asking whether or not I am electable.
Jasmine, you're not electable. Jasmine Crockett is not electable because she's a one-trick pony. This girl's still screaming racism. Everything is right there. Darkening my skin. It's racist. This is racism. You don't win elections by calling the other guy racist. Election is not about you. It's about the people. You call me whatever you want to. As long as what you're calling me doesn't stop me from doing what I am presenting myself to do for the people. That's it. But this chick is an absolute self-centered narcissist. Everything is about her. She never talks about the voters. She never talks about policy. It's all about either she's being attacked and whoever's attacking her is racist, or someone else is being attacked and whoever is attacking them is racist. That's why you're losing, Jasmine. That's why you're losing.
The reality is that is nothing but dog whistle.
So do you blame Representative Tallarico for the frictions and tensions?
I will say that usually when you're behind, that's when you start to do ugly things. You can take that however you want to. I am tired of people asking whether or not I am electable. The reality is that is nothing but dog whistle. If you got a super PAC that's doing your bidding, then they need to go ahead and lift you up. What they shouldn't be doing is tearing down a black woman who, number one, is more qualified. These are just the facts. At the end of the day, I am the only one.
It's all about her. She sounds like Kamala Harris. Oh, they shouldn't be attacking a black woman. I'm the most qualified. Girl, what are you going to do with your qualifications? Because we know as a representative, you didn't do shit. Not a single piece of legislation written by this woman, passed into law, nothing. She never works across the aisle because she's too busy bashing Republicans and bashing Trump all the time. It's her claim to fame. Jasmine, get on message. What are you going to do as a senator for the great state of Texas? Other than complain about how you're the victim, James Tallarico, when you're behind, and whoop and all this stuff. Girl, get to the point. Because if you do win this runoff against your fellow Democrat, you're going to be in front of some Republicans and you're going to have to start explaining exactly what your agenda is. Not restart the civil rights movement. What are you going to do for Texans?
That has owned a small business. I am the only one that has actually practiced law both on the state level and the federal level. I am the only one that has been elected to do work on the state level as well as the federal level. And frankly, I did all of that, and we know that as it relates to my opponent. And God bless, because my dad is a teacher, so I don't want anybody to get this twisted. But he had 2 years where he taught charter school. And then after that, he went into the state house, and then he became a consultant for charter.
Boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the Democrat Civil War.
Oh crap! Thanks, guys. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Did you hear me? Did you guys hear what I was saying about Jasmine? How she's always focused on herself. But I was just pulling up some polls, showing that Jasmine is beating Tellerico by 8 percentage points right now. Um, it's really crazy how this is turning out because he was beating her by 10 percentage points in January. So it's very interesting. Like many of you, I've never received a call from a poll in my life, a pollster in my life, but these polls seem to somehow be able to dictate what's going to happen. Let's tap into this.
He also accused her addressing
Has statements, right? He would have to interview some, right? He would in compliance with that drama around the episode when
big story at the intersection of politics and media as the late night host Colbert and his employer CBS duke it out. He says the network blocked his interview with Texas Democratic Senate candidate James Tallarico from airing on TV. He also accuses CBS parent company Paramount of not standing up to, quote, bullies over new FCC guidance on equal time for political candidates. But CBS says Colbert is not telling the whole story. MS Now reporter Nick McCool shares more on the Late Show controversy.
There's another big story today that I never got to over in my monologue, and it's me.
Stephen Colbert addressing the firestorm over an interview with Texas Democratic Senate candidate James Tallarico, which was slated to air Monday night but did not appear on the broadcast.
He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast.
That decision, Colbert said, came after FCC Chairman Brendan Carr posted guidance from the commission last month, saying late-night shows may not qualify for an exemption to the rule that political candidates for office must be given equal time on the air.
He had not gotten rid of it yet, but CBS generously did it for him and told me unilaterally that I had to abide by the equal time rules, something I have never been asked to do for an interview in the 21 years of this job.
In a statement Tuesday, CBS said The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview, saying Colbert was presented with options to provide equal time. On Tuesday night, Colbert said his original monologue recounting the dispute was approved by CBS lawyers.
I am well aware that we can book other guests. I didn't need to be presented with that option.
yeah, but why don't you though? Right? The real question is, why do you only interview liberals and Democrats? Right? Why do you only platform them? Right? Why don't you? Interview Republicans or
incumbent gubernatorial candidate Arnold Schwarzenegger qualified as such an interview. But Carr says that exemption doesn't necessarily.
Dude, oh my God, I was muted again. Damn. I don't know why I keep on muting myself. Look. Oh my God. Anyway, what I was saying was that Jasmine Crockett, if she gets elected, all Texas is going to get is a senator who does nothing but bash Trump 365 days a year. That's it. That's all she did as a representative. Now she's losing that seat. So it's all about getting in the Senate. And I'm just trying to understand why this woman is so adamant about being in the Senate when she knows she don't do nothing. All she does is bash Trump to get the black women excited so they could send her campaign donations and donate money to the DNC. Now, as a fundraiser, I hear she's pretty effective. But you're not going to the Senate or to the House of Representatives to fundraise. You're going there to work for the American people. And you know, like I said, the black women, they already cooked. They're going to vote as long as she got a vagina. They're going to vote for her. But the Texans who really care about leadership and want to have people in position who will help make their lives easier from up on high on Capitol Hill, what are you voting for? What are you getting in exchange for your vote? What is she offering you? Jasmine Crockett is one politician who don't offer her constituents nothing. She doesn't say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go work to do this and do this. All she do is, girl, Trump's son of a bitch, girl. Then she get up there and do that talk that bull jive. And then she's like, yeah, vote for me or you racist. Vote for me or you a bigot. And then you go vote for her and she go up in there and she ain't worried about you. She worried about how much money she can get from these super PACs and stuff. So, hey, it's on Texas. But here she is going after another Democrat. I'm the most qualified. And you know, it's just, that's one of the biggest problems with our community, especially as black folks, but America, period. These people think that if I have the resume with the most shit on it, I'm more qualified. Guys, I'm sure there are people who never even went to college who could get in that Senate seat and do a far better job than Jasmine Crockett. A far better job than Jasmine Crockett. Because it doesn't take much to beat nothing. What did she do for all her years she was sitting in the House of Representatives? She didn't do shit. She didn't do shit. All she literally did was just bash Trump 24/7. And because there are a lot of people suffering from TDS, she was able to generate revenue doing that. And when she goes to the Senate, she's going to do the same thing. But yeah, Jasmine Crockett is a lost cause. I don't even like her. I don't care which one of them wins because I just hope the Republican wins in that race, whether it's Cornyn Paxton or Wesley Hunt. But we're just getting some breaking news from our brother Greg Foreman that Zohran Mamdani has defunded the police in New York. He's taking more of their money. Bro, New York is about to be a wasteland. You ever saw that movie Escape from New York with Kurt Russell playing Snake Plissken? That's how I feel New York is going to end up under Mamdani at this point.
Look at this. New York City, $127 billion budget for 8.4 million people compared to next door Pennsylvania, $53.2 billion for 13 million people. And to your point, $117.4 billion in the state of Florida for a population 3 times the size that of New York City. Just how do you even begin to justify that?
Mayor Mamdani is saying that if the state doesn't tax the rich, he'll have to raise property tax here in the city.
And as political
I just want to make sure. Hold on, I'm going to go back a little bit. I want to make sure you guys just caught this graph that this dude was just showing. So New York City has a population of 8.4 million people. The state of Pennsylvania has a population of 13 million people. The state of Florida has a population of 23 million people. So Zohran Mamdani in a city, just a city, one city of 8.4 million people has created a budget of $127 billion. Understand that. For one city. $127 billion. In Pennsylvania, the whole state budget, 8.4. Yeah, ooh, wow. In Pennsylvania, the budget for this 13 million is just 53 billion. In Florida, the budget for this 23 million is just 117 billion. But for Zoran in New York, $127 billion. Do you guys think there's a lot of wasteful spending in that budget? I'm pretty sure there is. If you need 127 billion for a city with a population of only 8.4 million, and your budget is bigger than whole states, this is ridiculous. This is tax and spend politics at its finest. I don't know why that just happened.
Look at this. New York City, $127 billion budget.
Explains it, and as state Mayor Mamdani is saying that if the state doesn't tax the rich, they'll have to raise property tax here in the city.
And as political reporter Marsha Kramer explains, it's all part of his new spending plan that he calls a last resort.
But I want to be clear. $5.4 billion is still a very steep mountain to climb.
In laying out his $127 billion fiscal plan that, despite the gap, increases spending by over $14 billion, the mayor offered a strategy that offers Governor Hochul and state lawmakers a Hobson's choice. Either pass election year tax hikes on the rich and corporations, or he will raise property taxes on everyone, homeowners, building owners, and corporations that own property here.
The property tax increase, if the city was forced to do so, would be at a 9.5% increase. This is something that we do not want to do, and this is something that we are going to utilize every single option to ensure does not come to pass.
But to some, it was a cynical attempt to leverage his popularity to wring more money out of Albany. Facing re-election, Governor Hochul has already ruled out taxing the rich, even though, by Mamdani's calculations, it's only 33,000 New York City residents. And today, the governor said she was against a property tax.
I'm not supportive of property tax increase. I don't know that that's necessary, but let's find out what is really necessary for him to close that gap.
I pointed that out to the mayor, asking, I wonder if we have a situation where this is a clash between ideology and reality, and if faced with the fact that you won't get those taxes from Albany, would you really raise property taxes here in New York City?
This is not a conversation on the basis of ideology.
When you, it is a conversation based on ideology. When you say I'm a Democrat socialist and you live in a capitalist country, when you tell people you're going to give them all this free stuff and everybody needs free healthcare and free daycare and all this crap, that is an ideological difference. Unless Kathy Hochul ran on the same stuff, which she didn't. It's an ideological difference. And you're saying, hey, I'm a spoiled brat. I ran and got voted in by a bunch of other spoiled brats, right? And if you don't give me the money that I need, or if you don't allow me, if you don't help me tax the rich into poverty, I am going to use my for one, I'm going to hurt every homeowner in New York, and that's going to send shockwaves throughout the state, and you might not get reelected because Zoran is like, look, if you don't pass a wealth tax, I'm going to raise property taxes. That's going to scare homeowners in New York State, right, who think you'll bend the knee to me, and they're going to vote you out for someone who's a stronger candidate against Zoran.
Would not do is demonize the police by calling them wicked and corrupt, by threatening to defund and dismantle them as Zoran.
Oh yeah, so in this video we're dealing with the fact that this guy's now going back to the age-old tactic of defund the police. We already know it doesn't work. It failed miserably. It destroys cities all over America. Even Democrats were saying don't even bring up defund the police, but I guess the Democratic Socialists did not get the memo.
Ron has done, and we are at a 34-year low in the number of police officers. There's only one candidate on this stage, him, who has not said that he would try and build that number back up. So I think his Department of Community Safety, which he talks about, is just backdoor code word for continue to defund the police.
I will not defund the police. I will work with the police because I believe the police have a critical role to play in creating public service, public safety. 65% of crimes in the first quarter of this year are still not solved. We need to ensure police can focus on those crimes, and we have mental health professionals and social workers to address and tackle and resolve the mental health crisis and homelessness.
Yeah. So lo and behold, in lieu of the fact that it looks like Democrats at the state level are not going to tax the rich like Mondami wants in order to pay for his socialism, he's trying to defund the police in order to find money to pay for socialism, including paying for illegal immigrants to get free services, right? So without further ado, let's get into it. Mondami proposes cutting NYPD budget, canceling 5,000 new officer hires. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is looking to get the Big Apple on a tighter budget and seems to see cuts to the New York Police Department as a way of getting the city back on track. Mamdani's predecessor, Mayor Eric Adams, proposed at the end of his term that the city hire 5,000 more NYPD officers. However, upon entering office, Mamdani moved to cancel all orders signed by Adams, including his September 26, 2024 indictment. This included the proposed NYPD personnel increase. Under Adams' plan, the NYPD was set to add 300 officers in July of 2026, growing to 2,500 in July 2027, and eventually increasing to 5,000 additional officers annually in July 2028. The Adams plan allowed the NYPD to deploy approximately 40,000 officers to the streets, while Mamdani's plan caps the number closer to its current level of 35,000. Additionally, the preliminary fiscal year 2027 budget, it notes the importance of, quote, significantly reducing current vacancies, which could include reductions in funding for the NYPD based on unfilled positions. The Gothamist, a New York-based publication, noted that Mamdani's budget proposes a $22 million decrease in the NYPD's $6.4 billion budget next year. Yeah, so there you have it, right? There you have it. Mamdani is defunding the police. Eric Adams was trying to get more officers on the streets, which are needed, right? You need more officers on the street in New York City because of crime. And Mamdani says, nah, we're good on that, right?
Right. New York is already messed up. The crime in New York is out of control. We already know they've been lying to us, talking about, oh, crime is actually down. We know that's an absolute freaking lie. And this guy should have never been elected. That's all. I could just sum it all up with that. This guy, Zohran Mamdani, should have never been elected. But that's what happens in democracy. If you get enough dumb people motivated, they'll go vote for anything as long as they think they're going to get something free. And the sad part is they're not going to get anything free. He never intended to give them anything free. He intended to do just enough to get them to vote for him, talk good, and he's going to do just enough for illegal immigrants so other immigrants and people who sympathize with illegal immigrants will continue to vote Democrat. That's it.
They're upset. They're boohoo, whining, crying about what they voted to rich.
If Albany, their property tax bills go up. Has scared a lot of people, homeowners, co-op and condo owners, building owners, anyone who could see their property tax bills go up if Albany doesn't find extra money to bail the city out of its fiscal crisis. Political reporter Marsha Kramer has the story.
Now again, fiscal crisis created by Zohran. He inherited a balanced budget, right? Inheriting a balanced budget is not a fiscal crisis. These politicians say, hey, we're going to spend more money than we have, when they don't have to, right? They have a balanced budget and they call it a fiscal crisis. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Flushing, Queens is a neighborhood of homeowners who are proud of their leafy streets, tiny plots of land, and the ability to have a touch of suburbia. Many, like Paul Graziano, have lived in the neighborhood for decades, but now they're worried they could be forced out by Mayor Mamdani's threat of a huge property tax hike. He says of his neighbors,
I think they would freak out.
Paul is worried too.
Absolutely impinge everything. I mean, I'm raising a 9-year-old kid, and everybody knows when you're raising kids, it's every dollar counts.
His tax.
But hey, Mamdani's gonna give you free daycare. With that property tax increase, don't worry. He's gonna give you free daycare. That's how you make up for it, right? It's almost as if free daycare ain't free. Even if you got a kid, the fact is that free daycare, which will also include free daycare for illegals too, right? Remember that. It's almost as if free daycare ain't really free.
That's who it's for. I need y'all to understand something. A lot of this stuff that's income-based is for illegals. Because what do we know about illegal immigrants? A lot of them work under the table. They might get a little job on the books making $200, $300 a week, but what you don't know is they working that little 4 or 5 hours every day to get that $200 or $300. But then at night they go over there to that taco stand and pull in $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a night. All this free is going to be income based. Income based everything benefits illegals because they know how to cook the books. They know how to work under the table. So their income appears to be only a little bit of money, therefore they qualify. But in reality, they're making all this money under the table. I knew a dude, his name was Juan. This guy literally, he worked at Wiener Schnitzel. He worked at Wiener Schnitzel in Long Beach on the north side on Artesia and Orizaba. He worked at Wiener Schnitzel. The dude only worked at Wiener Schnitzel 4 hours, like 2 or 3 days a week. You know what he was doing all the rest of the time? He was doing construction. He was making bank just doing construction and handyman work. Bro used to walk around with a knot like this. I think bro was tied into the cartels too. I remember this fool only had 4 fingers. Bro used to have a knot like this of money. And bro worked at Wiener Schnitzel 3 days a week for 4 hours a day. Why? Because when he go to the welfare office, when his wife go apply for the Section 8, it say, oh, on paper, Juan is only making $1,500 or $1,200 a month. So he qualifies for the low-income housing, the food stamps, all that. The free daycare, the crystal stairs, and everything. But in reality, bro, making bands every week off of construction. So anytime you hear this like affordable this and free that, that is a dog whistle to illegal immigrants and the illegal immigrant sympathizers. Yes, you have other minorities who do benefit from that too, but they only know how to work over the table, on top of the table. So once they start working, right? Once they start making some money, they're going to immediately get kicked off those programs. These illegal immigrants is on these programs for life. They're literally using food stamps and EBT to fund damn taco stands. Trust me, the homie put me up on game. He was like, bro, we take the EBT, go buy all of the ingredients. That's all profit.
On rich people, such as himself, isn't much of a burden.
Oh, okay, hold on. Wait, let me go back. Because now they running around interviewing New Yorkers now.
This is coming from someone who has never had to fight for anything in his life, who grew up in privilege and wealth. So, of course, raising property taxes on rich people, such as himself, isn't much of a burden.
But it's not just homeowners. Ann Korshak owns 2 small West Side buildings, which each have 10 apartments.
There's no restraint. They just come to us as if we're an ATM machine.
She says the Mamdani tax hike, if it comes to fruition, will affect her tenants too.
It's going to make it much harder for me to replace a boiler. Instead, I'm going to repair it. Patch a roof instead of replacing a roof. Those are the kinds of decisions you have to make when, 40% of your rent roll is going to the city in property taxes.
The mayor.
Eric Adams didn't spend billions on illegals. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Eric Adams put illegals in tent encampments. Eric Adams was one of the few mayors in this country who was like, y'all not getting no $507, $600 a night hotel room. Chicago spent billions putting these people up in 5-star hotels. Eric Adams built them a refugee camp outside with tents and was like, this is where y'all gonna be. He didn't let them roam the city going crazy. They were there trying to do Uber and stuff, but Eric Adams was big on like not spending money on them. That understand something. Eric Adams handed Zoran a rainy day fund of like $8 billion or something like that. So he clearly didn't waste money on illegal immigrants. This is all new stuff. Look, Zoran was selected and elected. Zoran was planted so he could do what Eric Adams refused to do. Understand that. He was planted so he could do what Eric Adams refused to do. See, they plan to do this in all the major cities. Brandon Johnson went along with it. Denver, they went along with it. Atlanta, they went along with it. Los Angeles, they've been doing it, right? But New York was that one liberal city where they was like, why won't he cooperate? So he had to go, and they had to find someone who is crazy enough to do it. Sliwa wasn't going to do it. Cuomo wasn't going to do it. So they pumped all this money into the Mamdani campaign because he's the one who has the balls and the crazy radical thinking to do it. That's all it's about.
Says raising property taxes is not his first choice. He wants more money from Albany, but
this is a budget that reflects the only tools that the city has at its disposal. When we are speaking about property taxes, that is a tool of very last resort.
So a tool of very last resort, he just said there, Marcia. Then why is
my thing is that's crazy is you got people like the FBAs, right? Foundational Black Americans says they get benefits through immigration agencies, which foundational Black Americans can't get. Well, they're not supposed to. That's illegal. They uncovered some of that and people got fired and it was a big thing. Now, if you have a problem with illegals getting shit, vote for Trump. But what foundational Black Americans cannot do is say, well, we don't want illegals benefiting and taking our place, so we're going to choose the couch. That's the stupidity that Tariq Nasheed got y'all on. Tariq is an agent himself. So Tariq's job is to trick you into doing things that hurt you. He sold out a long time ago. So when you choose the couch, you keep the ball rolling. You leave the door open for the Democrats to win. And when the Democrats to win, they're betting on illegals, period, across the board. You get nothing. They're betting on illegals. Trump them is like, hell no, we getting them out of here. We not giving them no money. We actually we are not sending no money to states and cities that help these illegals and stuff like that. So the choice seems pretty obvious. But Black folks got this mindset where they're like, we're gonna be non-participants and at the same time complain about what happens if what happens in the election. No, vote Trump, vote Republican, vote GOP, keep them in office as long as they keep having the America First message. You are American, so America First means you will be first, right? But if you keep with the non-participant, we choosing the couch stuff, just don't complain. Don't complain. I know what I want. That's why I voted for Trump. I'm voting for the guy who's against the illegals. I'm not getting brainwashed on stupidity by a damn loser like Tariq Nasheed got me sitting on the couch while other people decide my future.
is he doing it?
If you ask me, he's trying to raise an army. Remember that army of volunteers that help him get elected? Well, he wants an army of people that are going to call their elected officials and scream bloody murder, don't raise my taxes.
Well, you know, at this news conference that you attended,
you must don't understand what redlining and gentrification is. King of Kampala, you're ignorant. You clearly don't understand what gentrification and redlining is. Redlining has nothing to do with this. Gentrification has nothing to do with this. Redlining was actually good for the black community because it forced black folks with money to keep the money in our community. So we're gonna let you focus on Uganda, right? And then we'll focus on America. I was just in Kenya. I've been to Uganda. I didn't tell them what to do with their politics because I mean, I know a little bit, but I don't know enough to talk. And if I talk, I ain't gonna be ignorant. Redlining helped the black community. Gentrification just means improving the community. The only people complaining about gentrification is thugs, losers, and hooligans, and the dirty hoes and Negroes that pushed them out, pumped and dumped their mama and raised them. That's it. I like gentrification. Gentrification means the neighborhood gonna be safe. So you don't know what you're talking about. Stop trying to throw out buzzwords and trigger words for African Americans when you don't really understand the gravity or scope of what you're talking about. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I ain't bash you. You know what I'm saying? We all Africans at the end of the day, down all the way down in our roots. But at the same time, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, bro. Straight up.
You did ask the mayor if he would really do this, if he would really raise property taxes. Tell everyone what he said, but
well,
also
he actually dodged that question. But the truth of the matter is that a lot can happen. This is a preliminary spending plan. The budget happens around May, depending on what happens in Albany. And a lot can happen. Revenues could go up. The state could decide to give more money. He could find waste in government agencies. The real question is this: it's an election year. Is the governor going to raise taxes? Is the legislature going to raise taxes when they have to face the voters in November?
All right.
Good question.
Marsha Kramer.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really kind of a very interesting political situation, right? This is probably the most interesting political story in the country right now, in my opinion, especially when you talk about local and state level politics. You have the Democrats in New York City who, led by Zoran Mandami, want the state to, quote unquote, tax the rich. The problem is that the state can't, quote unquote, tax the rich because if they, quote unquote, tax the rich, then they're putting their own political careers in jeopardy because the midterms are coming up, right? However, Zoran is basically weaponizing his voters who also vote, right, in these state elections against these politicians for not taxing the rich. So it really is a situation where, you know, some of these sane Democrats are stuck between a rock and a hard place. And, you know, there are not many sane Democrats. But this is what happens when your party's too far left, right? This is what happens when you embrace this socialist nonsense, right? This is what happens. And the crazy thing about the property tax increase is that is actually going to affect the people that Mandami claimed that he was trying to help the most, right? There's a lot of socialists, ignorant socialists, economically illiterate socialists who are coping and saying, well, poor New Yorkers don't own property. It's only going to be the property owners who are not that many New Yorkers. They're the only ones who are going to be affected. And I'm like, well, even the poor New Yorkers need a roof over their head, right? Even if they don't own the property, they pay rent. So if property owners have more expenses because property taxes are going up, right? If the expenses go up, then they're going to pass that on, right? They certainly are going to have a hard time eating it, especially if they live in one of these rent stabilized units. Okay. Which, by the way, that's the whole plan from Zoran. His whole plan is to squeeze out property owners, right? And to force them to give up their units to the government. So raising property taxes in his world is ideal, really, because it helps him squeeze out property owners, right? He wants the government to take over the housing and to become your landlord, right? That's what he wants. Okay. So it's only been what, a month of this already? Right? It's been about a month and it's not looking good, but we're going to see, right? We're going to see. We're just at the beginning. We're at the beginning. A lot of things can change, but I'm telling you, give it 2 years, right? Give it 2 years. We're going to see where New York City's at.
Man, listen, in my opinion, there's no reason why there shouldn't be a red wave with this situation. These crazy lunatics, they could get out in the street and complain all they want to. But normal, hardworking American citizens, people who want to have a life, they're eventually going to have to stand up and get these people out of here. Shout out to Sucker Season LA helping us reach our 2 on our 5 super chat goal. Redlining ended, and now there are no more black communities. 100%. I get so mad when I hear people talking about redlining. The only people who had a problem with redlining were straight up coons, bro. People who couldn't wait to take their money out the black community to go live next to the white folks that they swore was racist and wanted to murder them, right? At the end of the day. So yeah, they need to bring redlining back. Keep everybody in their community so we can handle business and build up. But black folks steady talking about the community. Hell, you ain't got no community once all the people who making money move out. It's so bad in LA. Black folks get some money, move out the community, but then send their damn ghetto ass kids back to the community to raise hell. Mama moved to Beverly Hills, but send little Pookie back to Crenshaw and to shoot up the neighborhood and play gangster. I have no issue with redlining. Inglewood is almost 80% non-English speakers today. Yeah, of course. Because the blacks in Inglewood sold their property. Either they sold it or when they died, their kids couldn't wait to get rid of it. And a lot of blacks in Inglewood and stuff don't buy. They choose to rent. I tell my kin folks all the time, I don't even listen to black people complain in California because I'm young enough to remember, I'm old enough to remember when you could get damn near beachfront property for $100,000, $150,000. These little houses and stuff around here by the beach, these little bungalows down here in Long Beach by the beach, man, when I was young in the 90s, these things was like $200,000. Now, $1 million. If you didn't buy if you didn't get it while the getting was good, like the Too Short song say, just stop complaining. Nobody stopped you. Niggas was getting settlements and everything, getting on permanent disability and everything. We didn't want it because we didn't see the value. Oh yeah, shout out to Sucker Season LA for this $5 holler. Yeah, man, I don't want to hear nothing about no redlining, bro. Same thing happened in Compton, California, 100%. Now go to Compton. They over here 800,000 to $1 million. Black folks was in Compton when them houses wasn't even worth $80,000. Did we buy up a bunch of houses? No, we want the gangbang and chuck up the hood. So don't start complaining now. Nah, who's lying? Who's lying? Who's lying? Bro, I'm from here. You sound crazy. If you really, man, listen, my people go so far back in Long Beach, man. When my granny and my grandpa moved to Long Beach, bro, they bought a house for $35,000, bro. That house now is worth like $600,000 or $700,000. So yeah. No, it's all good. I mean, that's what we do over here. We go back and forth. Anyway. But yeah, so it's just craziness, it's madness. But just keep voting Democrat. Keep voting yourself right out of your own country. Because believe me, I'm telling you, politicians, all they care about is getting reelected. They don't care if it's by you or anybody else. Look at the mayor of the city I'm in, Long Beach, since Rex Richardson jerked. This guy is black as hell, catering to straight Hispanics. I think his wife's half Puerto Rican. This dude talking about Bad Bunny had the greatest Super Bowl performance in history. He black. But he's going to pander to the group he needs to vote for him, which in this city is Hispanics. That's the way it is. Yeah, keep voting independent. Who you voting for? Look. And this is the ignorant shit. I'm voting independent. Okay, who you voting for? Who's the independent candidate? Tell me, who's the independent candidate? Which race you voting independent in? But that's black folks. Black people have a fear of success and they embrace failure. We look, guys, listen. We are in a fight for our lives politically in this country. And you got black folks talking about, well, I'm going to just do something stupid that don't have no impact on nothing. We don't want to win. We don't want to win. We want to do stuff that don't have no meaning so we can do what we love doing most, complain. At the end of the day, look at this. I'll place my own name on the ballot. Okay, good luck. The Mexicans and the immigrants that you worried about, they're going to vote Democrat. They're going to vote Democrat. They're not going to sit up and play stupid games. But what does the saying go? How does the saying go? Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. Fuck around and find out. Go ahead. Because black folks think shit is a joke. We think everything is a joke in a game. I'm going to put my own name on the ballot. Yeah, this and that. Okay, go ahead. Them Mexicans, they don't even got to know a single one of your policy. You know, your policies. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, mijo, this guy right here wants to let us stay. This guy right here wants to kick us out. You know what they're going to do? Bam, Democrat. They're going to vote stay. Check that box. It don't matter. That's the problem with us. We're too busy worried about what everybody else is getting and doing. What are you going to do? You can get the same money Somali's getting. Because Somali, listen, the Somali 8 or 10 billion fraud ain't got nothing on the African-American PPP loan fraud. Which I'm against the fraud from the Somalis too. But the United States is also over there in Kenya right now about to take control of their little businesses and these little apartments that they built up because the United States coming to get their money back. Black folks got to work on ourselves. What are you going to do to reinforce and strengthen your community against the immigration stuff, the illegal immigrants? I guarantee you sitting on the couch because Tariq said so ain't going to help you. So what you going to do? Guys, we are 3 contributions away from our goal. If you like the channel, you like the content, shoot us some bell. We got 3 more $5 super chats to go. Right now, we only got 2 from Sucker Season LA. I do not want my brother to continue to do the heavy lifting. So y'all reach deep down in y'all wallets, in y'all pocketbooks, and bless the channel. And also, if you don't have Super Chat, we have Cash App available and PayPal pinned to the top of the chat. So if you want to contribute that way, that also counts towards our daily goal. But yeah, man, it's very simple. Oh, yeah, Harris lost, right? Harris lost. But she's currently leading in the polling for president in 2028. If y'all don't think Kamala Harris will run it back, you out your mind. Kamala Harris did get over 70 million votes. Understand that. Kamala Harris got over 70 million votes, and Trump was able to get communities that traditionally do not vote Republican to vote for him. So if the communities traditionally do not vote Republican, that means they can go back to voting Democrat very easily. Understand that. So if Kamala Harris come back with the same gobbledygook, she already got about, listen, she automatically gets about 70 million votes just not saying nothing, just being a fake black woman, just being a Democrat and just being stupid. She's going to get about 70 million votes out of loyalty to the Democrat Party. All she needs is probably like another 10 million votes. If she get 10 to 15 million more votes next election, she becomes president. So all she lost, like, no, she can come back and win, especially if the candidate is weak. Understand that. No, everything's a lie to you. This is a fact. This is a fact. I'm telling you, this is the reality. I covered the election extensively. Kamala Harris, let's see, how many votes did Kamala Harris get? Kamala Harris got Harris received. Oh yeah, so Donald Trump got 77 million votes. Harris got 75 million. She basically, with the popular vote, she lost by 2.2 million votes. That's it, 2 million. That's it. Now, mind you, Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Understand that. So you don't think if Donald Trump's not running, Kamala can't manage to get 2 million more votes? Of course she can. Now, she got destroyed in the Electoral College. But when it comes to popular votes, she lost by 2 million votes. And this lady is retarded. Like, I think she's educably retarded. Educably, what is it called? Educably mentally retarded? I think she's like legit retarded. But just think, if she just showed up with like 2 policies, this woman's idea of policies was to steal the policy of the person she was running against. She still only lost by 2 million votes. Imagine if she came with like 3 solid policies, like, I'm just going to give everybody free everything. Imagine if she just got on stage and lied a little more. When she said she wouldn't do anything different from Joe Biden, that pretty much killed her campaign. People really need to internalize what America would be. People really need to internalize what America would be without borders. If we don't have borders, we won't have laws. It would become a borderless, lawless society. Gangs would rule society. Yeah, the cartels. Easily. And the Mexicans and Hispanics, they would do exactly what they do in their country. They'll bow down and bend the knee to the cartels. And what people don't understand about the cartels, they think that the cartel violence is what the biggest threat is. No. What people don't understand is the reason why the cartels are Mexico is so fucked up is because the cartels pay the poor people. They give them money. So when the people with money, the people trying to work and build a life, when they go against the cartels, the poor people rise up against them. And the poor people go and vote for the presidential candidate that the cartels tell them to vote for. And those are the presidential candidates who are they sympathize and are in cahoots with the cartel. That's like Sheinbaum, right? Sheinbaum is in cahoots with the cartels. That is why Mexican people went and voted for a Mexican Jew who you never even knew there were Jews who were Mexican, right? How did she get elected? Because the cartels endorsed her. They told all the poor people that they support, that they give money to and that's scared of them, y'all voting for Sheinbaum. And we gonna kill everybody else so she don't got no competition. And that's what they did. Over 30 of her competitors were assassinated leading up to the election, right? But that's what people don't get. When you get an element in your country that pays the poor to go against you in the middle class and the rich, you're fucked. Your country's done. Your country is Mexico. That's what's going on over there. That's why people are like, why can't Mexico just get it together and do this? Because the cartels have bought the loyalty of the people, of the poorest among them. You think they're going to give up the little $1,000 or $500 a month that the cartel give them to build a better country? Hell no. They like, shit, I want my little money the cartel giving me. And they'll do the same damn thing over here. That's why you got to keep them over there where they're from. She lost the swing states. So what? She can win swing states. She lost every swing state, I believe. But she can win. If Harris would have won like 2 or 3 swing states, bro, she would have won an election. The swing states, I don't know how much they're going to swing. Trump is pissing a lot of people off with this ICE stuff. You know? Yeah, she came to Wisconsin, but it didn't work. But anyway, there's a lot of theories on it. There's some theories that say that the Democrats can't even win the midterms. But there's always theories, man. But you never really know what is going to happen until it happens. But guys, we're going to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed that show. I thought it was pretty cool. We are going to we're gonna do more. Just give me a 1 if you guys like this, because I got like a more permanent setup now. That's why everything. I mean, I'm watching myself on my TV while I'm doing this. It looks pretty smooth to me. Looks like a basic little setup. Looks well lit. Image looks pretty clear. We're shooting in 720 right now. Why the hell not? But everything looks good. We don't have no glitching or nothing like that. So this is pretty much my permanent setup for now. So that makes me want to record more and get cracking more on the streams and stuff. We're good. I got a chair that's more comfortable. I was doing this in my my leather chair, my big what's it called? My leather, what's that chair called? The smoking chair, the lounge chair. But that thing is like, when you sit in that trying to do like shows and stuff for too long, man, it ends up giving you like aches and pains, dude, because it's meant to just like sit back and relax in, but when you're like sitting up trying to record in it, it's just like it's not comfortable. But this is way better, way better. Okay, so we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for watching this. I appreciate everything you do for me and this channel. Go check out the videos that I posted. I played a couple of them during this segment, so they were pretty good. Go check them out. Go look at my video about Abigail Spanberger and how she basically screwed over the Virginia voters. And I need people to understand that this is the strategy for Democrats. Going forward, this is the strategy for Democrats. Promise them everything, deliver them nothing. Get them to turn on their neighbors, get them to try to eat the rich. Once the rich leave the state, we're going to force them to pay the taxes. But what people are not realizing about this eat the rich strategy, the rich protect you from a lot of bull crap that the politicians try to do. I gave this example, I think, on one of my videos. I said, look, for example, say the politicians decide tomorrow, hey, we want to put a $500 registration tax on every car in the state. Okay, the rich folks probably got a fleet of cars for their business, and they probably got a bunch of personal cars. They're like, I'm not paying $500 to register all these damn cars that I got. Hell no. The rich have the money to go and put behind a candidate or to fight against certain measures and proposals. They got that big money to fund campaigns against proposals and propositions that they don't like. Well, you also don't want a $500 registration tax on your car, but you don't have the money like the rich people do to actually put the money behind the people who support what you want. The rich people do. So when you chase the rich people out your state, you're removing a layer of defense. You're removing a buffer between you and the politicians. So then they say, well, fuck it. We do this. They don't got the money to stop us. We win. And now you pay $500 registration taxes for your car. See, this eat the rich strategy is stupid. What you want to do is you want to find ways to pit the rich against the politicians. When the rich go against the politicians, the poor and the middle class wins. The poor and the middle class win. If you could keep the rich fighting with the politicians, the poor and the middle class win. Look at what's going on in Pacific Palisades in California. The more red tape the government of California implements to keep those people from rebuilding their homes, the more the rich are going to put money to fight against the government. Right now in California, you have 2 Republicans leading the race for governor right now. Why do you think that is? Because the rich are saying F the Democrats. They're saying F the Democrats because look at how they did us in Pacific Palisades. In these nice rich areas, they won't let us build. They won't let us get on. The rich are like, we need a Republican right now. We need somebody who's going to come in and get rid of some of this red tape, who could at least do an executive order that allows us to rebuild. The rich control a lot, but when you get rid of them, it's just you and the politicians. And the politicians going to get it one way or another one out of you. Whether they're going to get it willingly or whether they're going to get it from somebody else, get it from you, or they're just going to take it. So just understand that. But thank y'all for watching this. I appreciate everything you do for me and this channel. Till the next time, take care of yourselves. But most importantly, please take care of each other. Peace.